and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I'm pretty good, so how are you?
I'm very well. It's been a fun week. I was struggling to find any films to watch, and I watched two the other day, and they were both fun.
Oh, good.
One I really enjoyed, actually. The other one was like, it's fun. So, yeah, good stuff. It's been successful. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good.
Excellent.
I got 2 movies and 2 series.
I've been I continued on with Farscape because I was
Oh, nice.
I think like last year sometime or towards the end of a couple of months ago I was like watching Farscape, I think I said, and then I just got distracted and I was like, I really want to watch Farscape, so I've continued on. I love that show.
It gets a little messy towards the end.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in like towards the end of season 1 at the moment, so it's like peak.
It's such a brilliant set of characters.
Yes. Yeah.
And to be honest, even when some leave and get replaced, the replacements are mostly pretty good.
Yeah, they do a good job. They do a really good job. Yeah, it's so much fun.
I always feel sorry for the actress who played Zan.
Yes, didn't she just get really fed up with the makeup?
Well, it started basically poisoning her.
Yeah.
It's because she just.
Which is a shame because she was so good.
Zan was one of my favourite characters.
Good.
It's a really interesting character that.
Yeah.
Had so many sort of weird little flaws and it was just brilliant. They're all really brilliant characters.
They are all fantastic characters. But yeah, Zan is fantastic. You definitely notice her absence for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I rewatched all the Dirty Harry movies.
Yes, you said you were doing. Have you seen them all now?
Yep.
Up to Deadpool and everything.
I did do Deadpool in the end. I wasn't going to bother, and then I did, and it's all right. It's not, it's bad by Dirty Harry standards, but it's not bad by modern standards. I guess it's quite entertaining. It's interesting watching the character change because obviously they make Dirty Harry, and he's not a very good guy.
Yeah,
and then you kind of get the feeling that by Magnum Force they were like, oh well. He's not good, but he's better than these cops. Look at these ones; these are way worse.
Yeah.
And then by the Enforcer, he's kind of different personality-wise. Like he's more kind of jovial and jokey, and like he's still Harry, but he's definitely got like a softer edge to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
maybe it's all the different people he's worked with. They've like softened him or something over the years.
Yeah, or I think they might have just felt the character might have been a bit.
Probably.
Like appeal to more people if he was less of an asshole all the time.
Yeah.
And I think the movie that surprised me the most, because, we had it on VHS and I watched it quite a bit, in my youth. But I don't remember it being as good as much as I enjoyed it, was Sudden Impact. I really loved watching Sudden Impact this time around. And I think it's one of those things because, like, I've always loved Magnum Force and the Enforcer anyway.
Yeah.
And Sudden Impact was one of those, like, in my head is kind of in that decline up, where, with Deadpool and stuff. But honestly, really enjoyed Sudden Impact. It's got some fantastic shots, like that shot of Eastwood on the pier in silhouette at the end.
Yeah.
And Sandra Locke's fantastic in it, obviously. Yeah, really good fun.
I must admit, that's probably the after the that's the one I probably haven't seen as much of.
It's certainly one of the lesser watched, I think, but it's still
fun. I've only seen the Deadpool about twice, so
I think this was my second time watching the Deadpool actually. I think, but yeah, fun.
It kind of reminds me of the the Harry Palmer movies, because they did a couple like Bullet to Beijing and all that sort of later ones. And they're sort of like they are sort of the spy sort of things, but they don't really feel like they belong with the first sort of couple of movies. It's still Michael Caine and stuff, but it's just.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that extreme. Certainly,
no.
He's still very much Harry.
Yeah.
It's just by the Enforcer, and I think they, I think they always kind of offset it by giving him partners that were, you know, more likable generally.
Yeah.
But obviously with the Enforcer, he teams up with the lady, and she's fantastic. And you know,
Tyne Daly was really good choice.
She was great, and I really like the chemistry they kind of have by the end. You know.
Yeah. And it's really upsetting when they you know, spoilers for a very old movie.
for an ancient
when they kill her, it's like, Jesus.
Yeah, because you kind of feel like it's all going well, and she's finally found her place, and she's finally kind of because the whole movie she's trying to prove herself as a detective, and she's like, you know, first female detective, and you know, she backs Callahan obviously when they sort of throw him to the wolves, as they do in every movie. And
I love that bit when they're demonstrating the rocket launcher and she stood
right behind it. Yeah, that is funny.
Just pulls her over.
But anyway, let's not talk about Dirty Harry all night. What have you been watching?
So I will start with The Old Way.
The Old Way.
Yeah, which is a Nick Cage western.
Yes,
his first western.
Has a very airbrushed Nicolas Cage on the poster.
On the poster, it really is. Yeah, I mean, in the actual movie, he is not airbrushed at all. He very much looks his age in the movie. And it's also got Ryan Kira Armstrong and Noah LaGrosse.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we've got it's the movie starts with looks like it's basically this guy is getting hung, and Cage's character Colton Briggs is basically a hired gun. It all goes a bit wrong. Some people come to rescue this guy, and Briggs is obviously he's there for the pay, so he's not that bothered about what's going on. So he doesn't really do anything until, you know, it gets a little bit more hairy.
Yeah.
And the guy who gets rescued, he's there with his son, and he stupidly picks up a shotgun and decides to aim it at Nicolas Cage, who proceeds to just shoot him in the head.
Okay.
And then the son, who is the man's son's sort of there, and you think, okay, well, that's the setup for this movie then.
Yeah.
So then we skip to, like, I think it's 20 years later, and or probably less than that, but anyway, skip to some time later, and now Briggs is married. He's got a wife and a daughter, and he works in a shop. He's got his own store. And his this particular day, he's got to walk his daughter to school, and they seem to have a very odd, sort of strained relationship. He doesn't really seem to know what to do with her, and she seems bright and you know, precocious, and he has to, and the teacher's not there apparently, or the teacher's sick or something, so he has to take her to the store with him, and she's doing her homework there. Meanwhile, on the farm, a group of people turn up, and you know, your usual, they murder her, and then he obviously has to go on a revenge sort of spree.
Of course.
So it turns out that the leader of this gang is the son of the guy that's getting hung in the first one. So we got also one of the members of the gang is Clint Howard, which is like, wow, Clint Howard's still going in these movies. I love it.
It's like whenever you see Robert Duvall, you're like, oh, Robert Duvall's still going. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So basically, he's there going after this gang with his daughter, who first he's thinking, because basically his character is a psychopath,
right?
And it seems that his wife, she was the only thing you find out later, the only thing that he's ever loved, he's ever felt anything for at all.
Okay. He
doesn't really even feel anything for his daughter.
Oh wow! So he's a proper psychopath, except for her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he goes to kill his daughter. He goes to shoot her because he thinks, well, you know, she's not going to be any good without her mother, and you know, it's probably better if I do that.
Mm-hmm.
When he goes to shoot her, she's in. It looks like she's asleep in her bed, but she's not. She sits up and she looks at him and she just says, "I don't think Mum would like it if you were pointing a gun at me." And he basically he takes the gun down and he walks away. Then he comes straight back and he chucks her clothes at her and tells her to get dressed. And off they go. And there are some. I will say it's a standard cowboy movie. It's not brilliant, not terrible. It's a nice, enjoyable cowboy movie. I would say the star of it is really the daughter, Ryan Keir Armstrong. She is amazing. She's basically not really spoiling it, but she's a psychopath as well.
Okay.
She, as over the course of this journey, you discover that she doesn't really feel anything either.
Right. So it's like a hereditary.
She's like her father. She has this, it's this very strange. There's a brilliant bit where there's a couple of really good scenes. One where a customer puts his hands in the jelly bean jar while Nicolas Cage's back is turned and she spots him and says something, and he takes his hand out. It's like, nothing going on here. She then proceeds to clean every jelly bean and separate them, and it's just a really brilliant little scene. And that's the thing. There are these lovely little scenes with her, where she does something, and you think, okay, she's not
not right.
Yeah, she's clearly not quite the shilling.
Yeah,
but done amazingly well. I was really impressed with her. Most of the other people in it, they're all doing their part. They're all there's nothing.
No one's terrible.
Yeah, and there's no real sort of terrible performances either. Cage does kind of feel like he's walking through it again a bit, but
sure.
There were a couple of scenes, where he's one pretty good scene where he's talking to his daughter on a campfire, which I thought was really good. And it's just Cage being Cage and just shining through what could be a pretty dull, ordinary character. I really enjoyed it. I think it's like I said, it's not the best Western you're ever going to see, but it's a pretty good all round Western. That's it's got it hits all the points. It's got bushwhacking in a canyon and all, it's people coming into the town and all that sort of stuff and the usual sort of tropes. So yeah, it could be seen as a bit cliche, but it's I think the performance of the daughter is that it is what makes it that bit better. It just slightly raises it over awful westerns. But I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's got everything's in its place.
It's got everything you want, including Nick Cage. Did you see his quote at that film festival thing?
No, I don't think I did.
He said, "I don't need to be in the MCU. I'm Nick Cage." I was like, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
I can argue with that.
No, fair.
I mean, technically, he's in the MCU.
Well, I mean, he's in the pre-MCU, isn't he? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but if they're counting other people,
I guess in the multiverse of bullshit. Yeah, I guess he is in the MCU somehow.
Yeah, and I mean, he was, well, not MCU, but he was nearly Superman.
He was. I don't know how I feel about that to this day. I want to see that film,
I do too. I really want to see it.
I don't know if it would have been any good, but I want to see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
For better or worse.
I don't think it would be any good either. Actually, he is in the Marvel Universe. He's in the Spider-Verse, isn't he?
Oh yes, he is, isn't he? That's true.
Spider-Man Noir, isn't he?
I guess maybe he was referring to
yes,
on-screen role.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, this sounds fun. I mean, I'm always on board for some Nick Cage. So
yeah, it's pretty good. I think it's worth a watch.
Yeah,
if you like westerns, I think if you're not really into westerns, this isn't really going to do that much for you.
Sure.
Other than the performance of the young young girl. I would say this is just for Western people and Nicolas Cage fans, really.
I'm both, so that works well for me. Cool. Well, I will start with Bandit, which is a 2022 film directed by Alan Unger. It's been on. It's one of those that Prime keeps telling me to watch.
Yeah.
So I was like at a loss for what to review this week. I'm finding it hard. I'm finding it really hard to find things I actively want to watch at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I start things and give up. There were a couple of films I can't even think of the name of now that I literally started and was like, nope. But this one, this is the first of the two that I actually quite enjoyed. This is a biographical crime film, and again, much like Devotion, I don't know the history. So
that reminds me, I wrote it all down, and now I haven't. It's not in the bloody room with me. I did look up British forces in the Korean War, and we did have. There was quite a lot of British soldiers in it, and the Glorious Gloucesters did a last stand in one of the what was originally it's like Hill 321 or something, or it's now known as Gloucester Hill.
Oh right, that's
in Korea. So yeah, we had a bigger presence in the war than I had thought.
Yeah, so, yeah. Oh wow, there we go. But yeah, so this is another biographical film. I don't know the history. I don't know if the real life character or the real life person Gilbert Gallivan was is charming and lovely as he seems to be in this movie. I will just take the film's word for it. But effectively, it follows the criminal career of Gilbert Gallivan, and he is like the most charming bank robber you will ever meet. He's very talented. His career is.
Wait, is this Josh Duhamel?
Josh Duhamel, or Duhamel. I'm never sure how to pronounce that either. Yeah. But this honestly is probably the best performance I've ever seen him give in a film. Okay. He is fantastic as Gilbert. He's amazing. So this guy, I guess in real life as well, kind of took acting lessons and became understood how to use makeup and makeup artistry, and he used to rob banks in disguises and put on accents and different characters and stuff. Okay. And apparently in real life he has the record for the most banks robbed ever. I think he's cool. Just literally robbed hundreds of banks in his time, and it kind of tells his story from kind of an early start in his career, makes a few mistakes, skips the border into Canada, and then finds love, and also charms this crime boss played by Mel Gibson. It's so annoying. Mel Gibson obviously is Mel Gibson, and we know what Mel Gibson's been like in life.
Yeah.
He doesn't sound like a nice guy, but it's frustrating that, sometimes you see him in a film, you're like, God, he is really good, though, at his job of acting, regardless of outside of that. He's great. Here is this crime boss, Tommy Kay, who Gilbert, immediately charms, just like he charms Andrea, his wife, or wife-to-be. Played by Alicia Cuthbert, who was the daughter in 24, I think.
That was. Oh no, she was. Yeah,
I think she was.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So she's great in this as well. He obviously lies to her and cons her as well. He says he's something he's not. He says he's someone he's not. But he does genuinely fall in love with her, and it's kind of just following his escapades whilst Nestor Carbonell is chasing him. I think his name's John in the movie. He's this police detective who's on his case and trying to catch him and whatnot. And the movie kind of does that pain and gain thing where the movie does these ridiculous things, but then it puts up a thing on the screen saying, yes, this actually happened. This did happen. And I would say it's a bit overlong for my liking. It's
Okay.
126 minutes. It felt a little long to me, but the performance by Josh Duhamel. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I'm going to butcher his name, but anyway, honestly, the best performance I've seen him give. I loved him in this movie. He held the whole thing together. I mean, Mel Gibson's fine. You know, Alicia's fine. But yeah, Josh is incredible in this role. And his various characters, and it's one of those things where he's just so likable. You probably shouldn't like a bank robber. And like I said, in real life, he may not have been this charming, because the movie's kind of like, oh, he never upset or hurt anyone. He robs the banks and he just charms the cashiers, and they're fine with it. And it's like, well, in real life, I don't know if that's true.
I think most people have a sort of, this idea that robbing banks is fine as long as no one gets hurt.
Yeah, you're sticking it to the man.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the thing is, though, he, at the end of this movie, he says to his wife, he's like, I never hurt anyone except you. And it's like, that's a nice sentiment. And as a movie, he didn't, right? So in the movie, it's fine and it works fine narratively. But whenever something's based on a true story, you're like, but did he?
Yeah.
Is it true? I don't know. But as a movie, it's charming. He's charming as all hell. Good fun. Good fun, light crime movie comedy.
I do like a good sort of crime.
I love a heist crime movie.
And if it's got one of those, the sort of a bit like American Made and Catch Me If You Can. It's
got that vibe. Yeah.
A hint of truth about it is always fun.
Yeah, I mean, it is based on a true story. I did briefly look up this guy. Did his time in prison and then went back to prison and then got out and went back to prison again. So he's obviously, struggled to adjust to life after prison. But I really enjoyed it. Good fun. Like I said, a little overlong for my liking, but I think the performances definitely pull it through.
Good to see Nestor Carbonell as well as
he's great.
Who will forever be Batman well.
Yes, yeah. I've always thought he's a great actor, actually.
He is a great actor.
And he's fantastic here. He's kind of outshone.
To be fair, Josh Duhamel is actually one of the better things in the Transformers movies.
He is, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You think back to those movies, and he is one of the few things that
he's doing a good job in those movies.
Yeah, he almost shouldn't be in it.
Arguably, those people should not be in it. But he got all the money from the army to those movies are a walking advertisement for the army. So
I think Michael Bay is a walking advertisement for the army. He loves the military, that guy. He really does. So I
mean, it's full on military porn, isn't it? Really, let's face it.
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of his shtick, I suppose. But yeah, he was probably the best thing in the Transformers movies. It's like him and the voice actors are doing the best they can, and everyone else is everyone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, this is the best performance I think I've seen him give. He's fantastic in it, and it's a really fun kind of heisty bank robbery movie.
I saw the thing, and I think I watched the trailer, and I was tempted, but now you've.
I would say it's worth a watch. It's not going to blow your mind, but it's worth it for seeing his performance, really, more than anything, because it is the best performance I've seen him give, and it's an entertaining movie. Nothing amazingly new, but fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, what else have you been watching?
So I also watched Three Pines.
You said it right again.
Yes. The amount of times I've called it Twin Pines is...
I did when you told me. I was like, Back to the Future.
So this is an Amazon series based on a couple of novels written by, now I'm not going to remember the name of the... I can't find the writer's name, actually.
I can look it up.
Louise Penny. So I'm going to mess this up. It's Inspector Gamache, because they're French Canadians,
right?
And there's lots of French words that are like, whoa, what did he just say?
Yeah.
The name of the police service is like, okay, that I'm not saying that. So basically, it was kind of sold. The trailer sort of makes it look a bit Twin Peaksy, and I thought, ooh, it stars Alfred Molina, and I was thinking, well, I love Alfred Molina, I like detective stuff, so I thought,
yeah.
And if it's got a sort of, a Twin Peaks edge to it, yeah, why not? I think that's kind of overselling it. It's not Twin Peaks. There are sort of dream sequences and sort of visions, but not to the Twin Peaks level. This is just, inner workings and how the detective gains insights and things that they're just having out. So I quite like the format for this. It's 10 episodes, and there's one sort of investigation going on through all of them, which is a missing Indian girl, Native American girl, who just sort of up and disappeared, but her family are there, trying to sort of get people to pay attention. Their family is convinced that something's happened to her. She wouldn't leave. She's got a child that she wouldn't leave, and things like that. And the rest, so you've got that overarching thing, and then every 2 episodes is a different case.
Okay.
Which I really like the way that was done. That's what it's a nice little sort of thing, and it's so the inspector, he sees the police. He's sort of in the offices looking down on these sort of protesters, and he sees the cops being a little bit the cops being a little rough. So he goes down and he talks to them, and he sort of calms everything down. But what he then takes the mother of the missing girl home, and his superior gets a little pissy that he did all this, and he shouldn't have got involved. So he, as a punishment, he basically then sends him to 3 Pines. I nearly did it then, to 3 Pines.
It's really hard.
Yeah, to investigate a murder. Now, he's a very sort of interesting character. He's kind, and there's a sort of a Poirot-iness about him. He's not sort of as pompous as Poirot, but there's a sort of the way he deals with things. It's very sort of Agatha Christie-esque, I would say.
Yeah.
It's sort of gentle crime. It's not True Detective or it's more
or something.
Sorry?
Or Wallander or something.
Yeah, it's not the sort of brutal sort of stuff.
Depressing.
It's not like that, but I thought pretty well done actually from what I said. The supporting cast of Rossif Sutherland and oh my god, what's her name? Ellie Maya Tail Feathers, I think, Tally Feathers. Sorry, they're really good. His little unit of his little team are really, really cool. There's a couple of there's a moment. There's a few moments when we were watching it where he keeps talking to his wife, and for the longest time you don't see anybody with him and his wife, and my wife were like, is she really there? Is she dead? And he just talks to them. But no, eventually they do show them with other people. It just seemed very odd that whenever you sort of saw them, no one else seemed to be there.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's added to the fact that I thought it was supposed to be a little Twin Peaksy. I mean, they've even got a woman who basically walks around carrying a goose.
Oh, okay.
Who's a poet, and it's got it does have weird touches, and this little town is a bit odd. Most of the characters are as the series goes on, most of them have got little secrets or, you know, weird little things that and basically it seems everybody who's gone to live in this town seems to be running from something, or
sure,
it's gone there to get away from something. And it's really not bad, actually. Some of the wider supporting cast, the sort of townspeople, aren't the greatest actors and performances you'll see, but they don't really need to be that much as long as the core is there. From what I can gather, some people that have reviewed it have said that it's out of read the books, say that it's another one of those. It's not like the books, but I couldn't comment on that because not having read the books. But for the actual series itself, I really enjoyed the fact that it was, and it is, it's a nice, gentle sort of detective stuff. I mean, obviously there was some horrific stuff in it.
Of course,
it's murder. It's the murder, and there was some really, really good stuff.
But I think a lot of those shows like Wallander and Broadchurch can just really depress you, just get you kind of like just bring you down. So
the biggest depressing thing about this series is it's to do with the Native Americans and
sure,
Native Canadians, I should say, and the brutal way that they were taught, and they were put in these schools and things. But yeah, I actually really, really enjoyed it. It's like I said, it's gentle, so it's not going to too taxing, and it's actually pretty zippy. It's 10 episodes. It shoots by pretty well, and it's mostly held with Alfred Molina. Let's
sure, and as a central actor in a series, you can't go wrong there. He is a solid actor.
I would say it's worth watching if you're into detective stuff, kind of just for his character. He's a really good character, and I don't think it's been renewed yet. But I'd be more than happy to carry on if it gets a second season, because it does. I'm not spoil anything, but it does end on a cliffhanger, and I would like to see, more to see what happens.
Yeah,
and it's got each. I do like the each little 2 episodes is another case, and with the overarching one going on in the background. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty solid detective show.
Cool. Well, that was 3 Pines, and I will probably check that out.
One thing I forgot to say actually about the old way, the gun master on it was the same one that worked on Rust.
Oh.
Nicolas Cage said she was unprofessional on the set of.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she discharged a weapon in the floor, like next to him, without warning, and he walked off set. He was very upset with her and said she was terribly unprofessional.
Wow, that's. I mean, from the sound of the mounting evidence, it seems pretty clear that the number of people on the Rust set were negligent at the very least. But it's kind of damning when you hear another production had issues with the same armorer.
Yeah,
that's not good. But yeah, cool. Well, I will definitely be checking out both of those, I think, when I get a chance. So anyway, the second film I watched, again, I was just scrolling trying to find something to watch, and I came across The Fence. The full movie I have discovered since that it was also a short film, which I think is on YouTube. I watched, this is the full movie I'm talking about, and it's set in 1980s Bristol. And to be honest, that's pretty much what kind of piqued my interest. I was like, oh, 1980s Bristol, okay, let's see what it's about. And it's directed by William Stone, starring David Perkins, Eugene Simon, Sally Phillips, and a bunch of other talented people. I always remember Sally Phillips from Alan Partridge. I can't not see Alan Partridge whenever I see Sally Phillips.
Is Alan Partridge fan, so Sally Phillips for me is from Smack the Pony.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course, yeah. Another great comedy.
Yeah.
So David Perkins plays Stephen Knight, younger brother of Andrew Knight, who is recently done time for assault.
Do they have?
Sorry.
Do they have kit?
No, sadly not. What Stephen does have is well, at first a pedal bike, and he's desperately saving up. This is set in the 80s. He's desperately saving up money for a motorbike. And it's kind of seen as as it was back in the day, and probably still is now, seen as a status symbol when you've got a bike or a car as a young man, and he's desperate for this bike, so desperate that he actually buys the lower powered bike because he couldn't wait any longer to get the better one that he was actually after.
We've all been that. We've all settled.
Yeah, totally. We settle, and then later you regret it, and you're like, oh no, I should have done it.
Almost immediately, you're like, oh, why the fuck did I do that?
Should have waited. But he's been saving his money. Works as a butcher, and he's been saving his money to get this bike. Much to his mother, played by Sally Phillips. Much to her horror, because she's like a death trap. It's a death trap. As mothers do. And he finally gets his bike, and he shows it to his friends, and he takes it home, parks it out front, and immediately gets stolen. Like the same day. I think he goes inside, speaks to his mum, goes outside, and is gone. So he's quite, they have a reputation. Obviously, Andrew Knight is known to the police, and he's known to the area as like a bit of a thug because he was done for assault. And Stephen is much assumed, I think, that he's going the same way. But he's a lovely guy. Stephen's a lovely guy, and you can tell he really cares about his friends. He really cares about his mother. There are some really sweet interactions between him and his friends. And basically, he goes on this quest to find his bike from whoever stole it. And meanwhile, Andrew is himself dealing with this situation with his ex-girlfriend, who's now dating this drug dealing asshole.
Right.
And I honestly, I thought this movie was going to be super low budget, and I guess to an extent maybe it is. I'm not sure what the budget was, actually. I'll try and find it. But this film does not look low budget. I thought this film was extremely well shot, and extremely well directed. It is set in Bristol. It is filmed in Bristol. I certainly recognize bits of Hartcliffe and the suspension bridge and stuff. They're very careful with obviously the angles they use and which areas they use to get away with the 1980s stuff.
Because let's be honest, the centre does not look anything like it did in 1980.
No, but they're quite smart with it. So they'll have a shot with like the suspension bridge in the background and the center in the background. That's
pretty the same.
But it'll be blurred. It'll be blurred in the background, and they're in the foreground, so you can't really see the changes down there. But overall, I was super impressed with this film. I had a great time watching this. It's an hour and 30 odd minutes. I thought it was extremely well directed, extremely well acted. It's funny. And it's also got some drama and some real heart when it needs to. It's quite moving in places, and basically just follows these two brothers as they kind of try to settle a score with like the local thieves and drug dealers and stuff. Obviously, Andrew needs to be a bit careful because he's just got out of prison.
Yeah.
So he's on what do they call it when you're out, but if you commit a crime again, you'll be.
I know what you mean. I just can't remember.
It's like delayed or whatever it is. It'll come to me after I finish. But yeah. So he's got to be a little bit careful. But it's just kind of it certainly feels period accurate. Obviously the vehicles and stuff help with that, and the clothing and the outfits and the music, which is fantastic as well. But I genuinely thought, for a small movie, this was great. It's one of the best movies I've seen so far this year. Really, really enjoyed it. I didn't realize that my friend was in it until I was watching it. He's got a small role. In fact, I remember because we were filming Cold Shot, and he said, "Oh, I'm filming this." And it never occurred to me again. And then suddenly that memory came back to me when I watched this and he was in a scene. I was like, oh, now I remember him saying he was in that scene and he injured himself doing it. So yeah, overall, honestly.
Oh, yes, I know. I remember your interview with him. He said
yes
that he hurt his arm. Was it falling
yes
out?
doing a movie, and it was this movie, The Fence. He fell
Okay.
over in a car park. He's great in it. It's only like a quick, blink and you'll miss it appearance, but good stuff. Yeah, really enjoyed this movie. It's got real heart, and it's fun, and it took me back, which is what films like this I think should do.
Yeah.
A note on Bristolian accents.
Oh yeah.
Mostly, it's fine in this movie. I was actually pretty impressed. 90% of them felt genuine and good.
Yep.
There were a couple where it was like, it feels like you're doing an impression of a stereotypical Bristol accent rather than...
Does it wander into pirate too much?
Yeah. So very, very rarely. It is, for the most part, very good. There were a couple that were like, Asdol or something like that, where instead of Asda or something, I can't remember exactly what they said, but there were a few lines where I was like, oh, it feels like you're going a bit over the top there, I think I'm assuming some of them might genuinely be Bristolian, and then a couple of them might, obviously we're just doing an accent, but for the most part, it's good. As a Bristolian, I thought it was fine. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Highly watching The Fence.
I'm gonna look out for that.
It's on. I think I rented it for like £1 or £2 or something. It was like a super cheap rental, so well worth the watch. There is a short film on YouTube which I started watching this morning, and it's the same story or part of the same story. So I would recommend just watching the whole movie instead of the short at this point, because it's a bit jarring because it's got the main lead in it, but a different actor playing the brother, and it's weird when you see the same scene done again from a different, but yeah, watch the full movie. It's well worth your time.
Cool.
So what else have you watched?
So I watched
Nosebo, starring Eva Green.
Starring Eva Green, Mark Strong, and Chai Fonasir.
I like Eva Green. She's generally pretty good.
Yeah, I adore Eva Green. I think she's awesome. What I kind of like about Eva Green is that she's apparently in real life she's incredibly shy and quite reserved, and she's a real homebody, but she picks the most outrageous characters to play because for some reason she finds it cathartic to do these outrageous things when she's not really like that at all.
Oh wow. She's
she calls herself a bit of a nerd, and she's a bit weird herself, and I really love that about her. And she chooses interesting projects, and she's not really Hollywood. She doesn't really do that whole Hollywood stuff. So yeah, I really like Eva Green. So this Nosebo, directed by Lorcan Finnegan. So we've got Christine, played by Eva Green, who is a fashion designer. And when we first meet her, she's basically sort of launching, I think it's her new collection, when she gets a phone call, and you don't exactly hear what is being said, but you hear, she says, oh, they're pulling out bodies, and she says, oh, I can't deal with this right now, this is all a bit much, when a dog appears from nowhere.
Right.
A severely mangy, disgustingly rotting, festering dog, who proceeds to shake itself, and all this stuff comes off of him onto her, and she sort of hunkers down, and when she looks up, the dog's gone, there's nothing to be seen. But there is a tick at the back of her neck.
Okay.
And then it's a couple of months later, and Christine is now seems to be almost bedridden. She's seems to have all these problems. She's keeps losing her memory, and she's just not looking well at all. She's can barely move at times, and she keeps having little spasms and stuff. And her husband, played by Mark Felix, played by Mike Strong. He's obviously worried about her, and she's on lots of drugs, and they have a young daughter who they call Bobs, who that they're obviously the usual sort of setup for this sort of kind of family. When there's a knock at the door, and this young woman says, "I'm Diana. You called for me," and she says, "No, I didn't. I didn't." She says, "Yeah, you called for me. I'm here to help."
Right.
And she says, "Well, I don't remember doing that. But I must have. And she calls her. She says, "Hello, Christine. I'm Diana. You called me." And she's like, "No, but I must have." So she lets her in. She comes in and she says, she's here to help. And Mark Strong, when eventually he comes home, is like, "What the hell? Who is this weird woman you've got?" It's like, "No, I obviously hired her to help me out."
Right.
From there on, she starts giving her these sort of remedies and this sort of weird rituals that she keeps doing to sort of help her out, and she seems to be getting better. She seems to not need the drugs anymore, and she seems to be almost cured of this thing. But you see little things that Diana has a box of all sorts of things in it. She seems to be controlling the tick,
right?
That's sort of wandering around. And I won't sort of spoil anything. A lot of it you will see coming. It's there are some sort of things I think you pretty much get where this is going and what's coming. I mean, this Diana, she's I was going to say, it's not Thailand, is it?
It's Filipino.
Is it Filipino?
It's a Filipino-Irish movie.
Yeah, I think she's Filipino, and Christine's obviously fashion industry. You obviously, from the phone call, you glean what's happened, and you know where this is going. But I actually thought it was not bad. There's some really nice imagery.
Right.
I would say it's basically a sort of a folk horror, really. There's some really nice things with. I don't know much about Filipino shamans and things, but it seemed pretty genuine to me.
Right.
Yeah, some of the CG is not, it's not brilliant, but it's nice enough, and it's a nice imagery when it is used. There's some sort of lovely things with this bird. I won't sort of go into too much detail about what the bird is and what it means and stuff, but it was very cool when you see what happens, and I actually really liked the end. I thought the end was it's got one of those sort of ends that makes me sort of feel like the almost like the old sort of Amicus horrors and that sort of weird tale stuff where when it's over, it's like, wow, that's how you're going to end it. Okay, fine. I really like the ending, and all of the performances are fantastic. Obviously, Mark Strong, Eva Green, and I've not seen. Keep butchering her name, Chai Fornesser, but she's really good as this kind of like a sort of witch doctor who's wormed her way into this sort of family, or for reasons that obviously you will see coming, but when they do happen, you're not I don't think I certainly wasn't disappointed by it. It's stuff that you know what's going to happen, and what's coming. But there are some nice little there's a couple of little sort of jumpy scares at one point, which are okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
But overall, I really enjoyed it. It's a nice little folk horror with really good performances, and I thought it's a really nice little folk horror.
Cool. Yeah, well, I'm a big Eva Green fan, so I'll give it a go. Looks interesting. Anything else?
Yeah, I also watched Lockwood and Co.
Lockwood and Co. Oh yes, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
So this is a Netflix show.
Teen show.
Yeah, it's a based on young adult novels, series of young adult. So the thing that drew me to this was it's brought together by Joe Cornish, who I'm a real big fan of, and it's the actual setting's quite nice as well. So this takes place in a sort of basically an alternate world where something happened in the 60s, some event that they didn't really go into. That I think that's I'd like to hear more about what what happened, but something happened in the 60s and ghosts started coming out, and now ghosts are everywhere.
Well, like known to the public everywhere.
Yes.
Right.
To the extent that basically there's a curfew, people don't go out at night.
Okay.
Because these ghosts can kill you.
Right. Okay.
There are lots of different sort of spirits and specters, and they do different things. What has also happened is that a large number of children and teenagers can see and hear these spirits.
Right.
So there are now these groups of it's like a guild of these groups that basically hunt ghosts, and they have like rapiers because iron keeps them away and stuff. And I really like the sort of sight of kids walking around London with rapiers.
Yeah.
So basically the main cast are Lucy, Anthony Lockwood, and George. So we've got Ruby Stokes, Cameron Chapman, and Ali Haji Hashmati. So you've basically the main one is obviously Lockwood, but it's Lockwood and also Lucy. So Lucy at the beginning, she is, I'm guessing, works for a major sort of group of these ghost hunters. But due to something happening, a ghost hunt goes wrong, and her entire team basically get taken out.
Okay.
And she gets blamed for it. So she basically gets fired, and her mum doesn't really care about her. Her mum's sort of, just using her. So she kind of runs away, really. She runs away to London, and she's trying to get, a job as a ghost hunter in London. And she keeps getting turned down because she hasn't done all of her tests, and she's got this thing, holding on to her now because there was a trial and she got blamed for it. When she goes to Lockwood, who is basically an independent, who's this sort of cocky young guy who seems to court fame and all that, but he's a little too cocky, and then you've got George, who's his sort of the book nerd, basically.
Right.
And then obviously they hire her, and so it ends up being this 3-man team, and it goes through, and they're investigating certain different hauntings and all that sort of stuff as the series goes on. I quite enjoyed it, actually. It's not brilliant, but
it's a fun premise.
That's what made it for me. The setting is the idea and the overall setting is really nice.
Yeah.
There's some really great some guest stars. We've got Alice Lowe appears playing this really evil character, which I really enjoyed. You've got Luke Treadway playing this. It doesn't even give him a name. They just called him Golden Blade. And one of my favourites, Nigel Planer, appears in one of the episodes as this rich guy who made his money in iron, because everybody wants iron now because it keeps ghosts out and stuff. The main actors are pretty good though. I've not seen any of them before. They're all young sort of those. I did sort of feel sorry for the guy playing George because his character is fucking annoying. I really wanted to punch him quite a lot. They do have the annoying habit of doing that, making tension by just not talking to each other.
Okay. Which
really pisses me off, and they do it a little too much for my. It's like, just fucking say something. Stop being dicks. Just fucking say something. So there's a little bit too much of that, but you know, it's fine. It's not that bad. The for me, well, you know, this is because it really appealed to me. The main thing that I loved about this is the soundtrack is pretty much all goth and new wave stuff from post-punk from you know the sort of early 80s. So we've got The Cure, we've got Susie, we've got this Mortal Coil, Bauhaus, The Associates. There is a really good scene in this function they're going to that uses the Associates Party Fears to used spectacularly, I thought. So the soundtrack for there's a bit in the beginning where you know the main character she's got a Bauhaus poster on her wall, and I was like, is this supposed to be set in the 80s? I don't, but it's not. It's supposed to be set sort of now, even though it's not our world exactly. It's supposed to be set now.
I guess it's an alternate 2023.
Yeah, but where everybody listens to old goth stuff. Which,
I mean, to be honest, in my circles, that's about right.
Well,
but
you know, I mean,
there's a big age difference between me and them. So
exactly. Yeah, the soundtrack is amazing. I'm more than
maybe teens have better taste than we realize.
Well, yeah, this is it. I mean, I'm more than happy for if, you know, young people get to experience great music.
Yeah,
I'm more than happy with that. Yeah, it was. There's some very annoying stuff in it, but nothing that really puts you off. And I think it's pretty well put together. It's kind of some standard stuff for YA stuff. So it's kind of what you expect. But overall, you know, it was one of those that I kept with it. I've started so many of these, and
that's.
You know,
I mean,
after about 3 episodes, it's like, yeah, no, I'm done.
100%. I do that with series and with films, especially a lot these days. I get about 20 minutes into a film, or maybe less, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah, I think the world itself was enough to keep me going, and I think
I must admit, you've kind of sold me on the concept. I like the idea that. I don't know. I always think it's a bit interesting. It's more interesting when you say, "Oh yeah, the public just know that this happens," and it's like, you know, because it's always, oh, you know, even with Ghostbusters for the most part, and you know, it was like, oh, keep it a secret, and you know, is it a hoax, and they're hoaxers and stuff, and
no, this is full on. Everybody knows what you know. There's a national curfew. Everybody locks their doors at night, and
because they can't go through walls.
Sorry?
Because they can't go through walls.
Well, I think everything is iron shod now.
They've right, yeah. So they've like clad the buildings to keep them out and stuff. That's cool. That's a really fun idea.
And you know, and obviously these children, you know, all these young people that have these powers, as they get older, they lose them.
Right.
So you know that's you know why they're all young. Obviously, you know. The conceit is that it's just young people that can do this. You know, once you get to a certain age, that's it. It's gone. You can no longer do it.
Yeah.
I really liked it. There's some nice little some really nice little effects. You know, they're a bit hit and miss sometimes, but overall, pretty cool. I quite like I'd like to have seen a few more of the ghosts. There is quite a cool bit where they're in that function I was saying about, and they have them just trapped in these like walls, like exhibits.
Oh, cool!
Which is kind of cool,
like a fish tank kind of thing.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, like pretty much. They look kind of cool. Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it. It's a nice little series, and again, I'd be more than happy to continue with it. I think
Do you know if it's getting another season or?
I don't know. I mean, it's Netflix, so
probably not.
Yeah, exactly. They've been pretty cancel heavy recently, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was cancelled. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought as YA series goes, I think this is one of the better ones.
Yeah,
cool. I mean, mainly just for the setting and the music alone.
Yeah, no, that sounds fun. I will definitely give that a watch. Is that everything?
I believe so.
Wow, we've that's quick. That's quick for us. I've watched 2 more episodes of Picard, but I'm wondering whether I'll wait until I've finished rather than annoy you with it every week.
Yeah,
I'll do a season recap at the end. But it's good. I continue to be impressed.
I do keep hearing that everybody's loving it.
Genuinely.
Watch it. I really
can. Episode 2, there were a couple of moments I was like, not sure. But yeah, episode 3 was fantastic. Actually, really, really good. And I'm excited to watch Star Trek every week. I didn't think that would be a thing anymore.
It pleases me that they finally cancelled Discovery. Even though
I don't know. Did they cancel it or did it just run its course? I mean, they got 5 seasons.
I think it's just run its course, really.
Because I saw people celebrating that online, and I was like, I don't think that's the win you think it is. They've done like 5 seasons.
Yeah.
And I thought Discovery was awful. So I'm kind of indifferent to whether they continue or not because I don't watch it. It's this outside of my. But I am thankful for this season of Picard so far. I still have that fear in the back of my head that it's all going to go to shit sooner or later. But right now it feels very different. It feels like I'm watching Star Trek, and I didn't think that in 2023. Well, in 2023, I didn't think I'd even be bothering to watch Star Trek again.
No,
because I was done. But the fact that I'm actually looking forward to it every single week is something I haven't felt.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm watching Star Trek, a good Star Trek, for the first time since like the end of Enterprise, pretty much. So
I still can't bring myself to do it, but.
Oh no, and I get that. I mean, like you, I said I'm the same with Star Wars. I am done with Star Wars. I don't care anymore. I'm not like upset. I'm not. I just don't care. I keep hearing that Andor's fantastic, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't think. So I get it
with this season of Mandalorian either. I think.
Oh no, I only did like half a season of season 1. I think. They can only push so far, and then you just get to the point where you're like, nope. And to be honest, even now, I'm like, even if this is great, if they don't keep Terry Matalas for more shows, and it goes back to other showrunners or existing showrunners, I will probably not watch it, and it'll probably. I'm kind of assuming this is probably it. Like, we're getting a good season here, and I'll just be thankful for this. We'll see. If nothing else, this feels like a good send-off so far for the Next Generation cast. It's nice to kind of get, the movies washed away,
Yeah.
It's nice to kind of feel like we're gonna get like a nice farewell to them, rather than shins on and June buggies and crap. It's like, hey, because that was like, oh god, Nemesis was so. Like, I remember going to see that with my friend. We were such big Star Trek fans, and we both walked out like, oh, it was okay. It was, when you're trying to convince yourself that something was all right, but it wasn't.
I've got a bit of a memory hole with that movie. I've not seen it very much.
I've seen it a couple of times. I rewatched all of the Star Trek films during COVID, which is the time when I rewatched most things. I think I just had so much time on my hands, and it's not good. It's really not good. And then obviously then I thought, oh god, like we're getting these Picard shows and they're even worse. You know, I'd watch Nemesis in a heartbeat over season 1 or 2 of Picard if I had to.
Yeah.
But now it feels like, hey, maybe we'll get a decent finale. Final voyage.
It's amazing in recent years how we've reassessed what's terrible.
It does put things in perspective, doesn't it? I mean, I'm not going to say that Nemesis is good. I'm just saying I would rather watch it than the crap like Discovery.
In recent years, we've had stuff that's made us go, maybe The Hobbit wasn't so bad. Maybe the films aren't so bad.
I'm pretty sure they are still bad. But... Yeah,
maybe Spider-Man 3 isn't quite so bad.
Well, and I must admit, I did that with Deadpool. I was like, the Deadpool is a rubbish Dirty Harry movie, and then I was like, well, by modern standards, it's all right. Could be worse.
There's some retooling recently.
You're right. I mean, I don't think any of those films or series are made better by bad things now, but at the same time, it does give you a greater appreciation for them anyway. You're like, well, it could have been worse. But so far, I think I'll wait until the season ends before I kind of talk more about it rather than doing it every couple of weeks, because that kind of feels...
Is it being dropped weekly, or is it...
Yeah, it's weekly. Yeah. Like I said, I'm actually looking forward to it every week, which is unbelievable. I'm actually, excited to watch another episode rather than dreading it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll do a full review once we finish. But
I did start something that's dropping weekly at the moment. Is it Daisy Jones and the Six?
I've never heard of it.
It's basically it's a sort of a story of a band from a sort of 70s band that it's sort of filmed almost documentary style. It's basically talking to them now, and then
is this a real band or
no?
Right. Okay.
But they're
like a mockumentary kind of thing.
They're basically Fleetwood Mac.
Right.
So the Daisy is basically Stevie, and the other dude, the main dude, is basically Lindsay.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was based the book. It was a book that it was written on. I think it was kind of based on the Face the Music.
Sure. It's like an unauthorized biography.
Yeah, it was. So.
God, can you remember that back in the day? You used to get those unauthorized biographies. They used to be everywhere, those things. Like every big band had an unauthorized biography.
Yeah. I've probably still got a fucking couple of it. on the shelf over there. I started it with my wife and we watched one episode, and my wife said, "I'm done."
Okay.
And I was like, I'm going to give it another couple of episodes before but it's not, it feels...
I feel like I feel like this has happened a few times.
Yeah.
When you've been watching something and your wife's like, "I'm done."
Yeah.
And then you suffer through more and come to the same conclusion a little bit later than she did.
She is. Maybe she's just a better judge.
Yeah.
I think she's
got less tolerance for bullshit.
She really doesn't have the tolerance for shit. She's like, and if she's like, "Yep, no, I'm done," and I guess I'm willing to give things a little more of a go.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the overall, it kind of appeals to me because I love Fleetwood Mac and I like the idea.
Me too.
But the 70s set stuff feels a little too sort of sanitized.
Sure.
That's I think which is a real problem if you want to show that sort of stuff. You really need to show the awful stuff.
Well, this is the thing I liked about The Fence is that is lighthearted and comedic as is at times. It really does show like life in Hartcliffe in the 80s, and it's not fun, and there's some real dark, grim moments in the film, and you're like, because it does get kind of pandering and annoying when you see like the vision of the 80s that people in 2022 23 seem to have, like Wonder Woman 1984 and Stranger Things to an extent, where it's like, everyone's packed out cinema to see Day of the Dead. You're like, no.
No.
And like that kind of I guess rose tinted nostalgia look at things.
It's the main actress. It's Riley Keough, who's been in some really good stuff. I forget what his name is now. It's an English actor. He's actually quite good as well. But there's something sort of, I can't quite put my finger on it. There's something lacking in it. But I've only, like I said, I've only seen the first episode. It feels like a very light version of Almost Famous.
Okay.
And I really like Almost Famous. I think Almost Famous does a pretty good job of that sort of era. Obviously, again, it is slightly sanitized, but it's still pretty good. But I don't know whether I'm going to review it, because I don't know whether I'm going to continue with it. I will watch, another episode or two, but
yeah.
So at the moment, it's not leaving a great impression on me.
Fair enough. But yeah, so I think that's about it. Is there anything else? I saw the trailer for Sisu.
Sisu. Oh yes.
The creators of John Wick continue to prove that they can only make one thing, but I enjoy that one thing they make.
Trailer that.
I know, it's like it's the same as Nobody. It's like the same movie again, but it's set in World War II and it looks really fun. Like it's amazing that they can keep doing the same thing, and it just keeps hitting the right buttons for me every time.
Yeah.
I think it looks so much fun. I can't wait.
I watched the trailer with my wife, and she just looked at me and went, "Yeah, I can see why you like it."
They kind of had me all along, but the bit with the landmine, I laughed out loud.
That was
So I was like, "Yep, fine."
Chef's kiss, beautiful.
Yes, yeah, absolutely,
so funny.
Yeah,
yeah, I was really impressed with that.
So I'm kind of sold on that one.
So I did see this thing. They're rebooting Hellboy again.
Yes, I did see that. New actor.
Yeah, and it's going to be set in the 50s, and it's going to be a younger Hellboy.
Yeah.
And they keep sort of saying, "Oh, it's going to be new and fresh," and all that. It's like, can you not just give us what we want? Can you not just let Del Toro do the third one? I mean, I know
Ron.
Yeah, Ron Perlman said. I think he said, "I'm just too old for it now."
The thing is, though, can they not CG him now?
Yes, that's kind of what I was thinking. Maybe
because he's still like, we want his performance, and I'm sure everyone would understand if it was mostly CG, because it's like the dude is bloody old, and fair enough. Certainly, Doug Jones could still do the practical. I think a lot of some of them could, but yeah, I would. This is the trouble. I feel like for as long as Ron Perlman's still alive, people are not going to accept a new Hellboy. David Harbour, I think, is a fantastic actor, and it's not his fault.
No,
but it was a terrible script, and it just was not a good movie. And I don't want to be instantly dismissive of another Hellboy movie. I'm not like a big comic book guy anymore, but I do like the kind of more occulty stuff and the darker stuff, and Hellboy is that, and I enjoy that world. But it is so intrinsically linked to that vision of Del Toro now, which is weird because obviously it was around long before Del Toro was involved, but his vision is just all over it, and it's just, they've got such big boots to fill every time now.
They've cast Jack Casey, which I don't know him.
I'm not sure what else he has done. Let's have a look. Jack Casey.
It's going to be I think it's going to be directed by some Brian Taylor, who worked on Crank, so it's going to have some humor, I presume.
Yeah, I mean, Hellboy definitely needs a dose of humor.
Yeah.
Apparently he's an American Democratic Party politician. I think I've picked the wrong Jack Casey.
It says he's in Deadpool 2 briefly, 12 Strong and Baywatch.
12 Strong I've watched. I can't say that I would necessarily...
What's 12 Strong?
Isn't that the war movie with Thingy-Bob? I feel like that was a film I saw with my dad in the cinema and then forgot most of.
Oh, okay.
12 Strong is exactly that movie. Yes, it is. It's
9/11
Chris Hemsworth movie. Yeah,
sent to Afghanistan.
it was fine
Deep in
from memory.
Okay, that sounds like there's something I've probably watched but don't remember.
Yeah, so I think he's got a bit part in that. So no, I don't recognize the guy, but I'm willing to give him a go.
Yeah.
I like they're setting it in the 50s. That's fun.
Yeah, that's at least
it's not the 80s at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. We'll see. Like you said, everyone just wants more Del Toro Perlman.
Yeah.
And understandably so. Although I still maintain that Hellboy 2, nice ending. Ends quite nicely. Them having kids, and it feels like that is an end. It's not.
Yeah.
As much as it would be nice to have another one, it doesn't feel necessary.
No, not really, I suppose. But I think the thing is because he said he always planned it as a trilogy.
Yes, absolutely. It makes you think.
Anybody who loves it is like, we want the third one. Where's the third one? You know, so maybe he should never have said it was going to be a trilogy. We wouldn't expect it so much.
Yeah. But still,
that's our own fault, I suppose.
I think that Ron Perlman just embodies that role so well. Like it's like Freddy Krueger. It's like Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. You're gonna really struggle to. You can replace Jason Voorhees.
Yeah,
you're gonna struggle with Freddy Krueger. He's got so much personality, and that personality is Robert Englund.
That's it, isn't it?
And it's Hellboy as well. It's just Ron Perlman.
Most of the other sort of things like that, they don't really have.
They're faceless killers or whatever. Yeah. It's fine, but you're gonna struggle. It's not impossible though.
No.
We'll see.
We should also mention Tom Sizemore, which I think we talked rough bit the other week about. But,
yeah. Oh, of course. The original Gilman actor passed away the other day as well.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I forget his name. Let me check. Yeah, I saw the other day he passed away.
Well, Tom Sizemore was only 61. I mean.
Yeah.
And he himself said he's surprised that he'd lived that long. To be honest, he'd put himself through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He'd had a lot of addiction problems over the years, and he'd come through that, and I think had been straight for a number of years.
Yeah. Those things do catch up with you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah, Riku Browning. Yeah, died.
Oh,
93, but
yeah, I was gonna say, well, if he was the original Gilman, then yes.
Yeah. Now I'm not sure if he was. Because I thought they had two actors that played the Gilman, but it might have only been one. No, I think he was the only one. I mean, what he did in that suit underwater is just unbelievable. You think that obviously, any of these suit actors are amazing. I mean, they're so uncomfortable and horrible to wear. I mean, you hear those horror stories of the Godzilla actors back in the day, but good lord, doing that underwater is like terrifying.
And I think there was a lot of sort of copycats, very cheap copycats that learned very quickly that they were not.
It's not going to work. Yeah,
what they wanted to do because of water's pretty unforgiving when you're trying to swim through it in a big rubber suit.
Yeah. But yes, is there anything else?
I think that's pretty much it.
Well, I think we have a movie for next week.
We do. We decided we are going to do Tetsuo the Iron Man.
The original Iron Man.
The original
well, not the original. I suppose Iron Man was around before Tetsuo, but I haven't watched Tetsuo the Iron Man for decades, and I'm really excited to rewatch it. Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's a real fucked up movie. Can't wait.
Way to sell it, dude.
In a good way.
In a good way.
But it is. I mean, it is what it is. It's a cool movie, but it's fucked up. So yeah, we will be back next week with Tetsuo the Iron Man. But until then, take care, stay safe, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.